Hi, good morning everyone. Damien speaking here from London, Wimbledon. Good morning. It's the Saturday, the 20th of July 2019. Thank you very much for joining and watching this video. Please hit the notification button and subscribe. This will help me to broadcast my content. Thank you very much also for everyone who is watching my latest video about Jordan Peterson. I will respond to the comments, and it's lovely to see that people are interested in the topic, even if they don't agree with me in particular topics. Today's video will be about the monetary system and how the centralized banking system and the centralized currency distribution is affecting us on a daily basis. And yeah, so I hope to get straight to the point again. And actually, there are so many channels and really good channels about the monetary system and how the central banking system is organized, and how it became or came into being that we are living in a world of complete fiat currencies, and that the dollar has become the centralized reserve currency in the 1944, and the central bank system for the US has been established in 1913, and then in 1971, as Nixon was dropping the gold standard, that since then we are living like with the US dollar as the reserve currency, and with many other currencies backed by anything as national currencies. So how you can imagine this to be constructed? This is like nothing else than a big imaginary construction. How can I say it? It's a construct, it's a plan. So exactly, this is a plan. This is nothing which came into being by evolution, which like the central banking system didn't appear by necessity. It was just put on the world by design. This is the good word, by design. And so we do have this central banking system across the whole world, and it's very similar everywhere. Almost in every country there is a central bank, and the central bank is distributing money by buying government bonds, and almost every single central bank is able to create money out of thin air just by buying more bonds and lowering the interest rates, which is actually the price for currency, and distributing this currency to the economy. And so I have like a significant comparison. How does it feel like, and how does it affect your life on a daily basis? But let me tell you firstly the motive why I'm doing this, because there is so much criticism about capitalism and about people getting about capitalism actually as a social way of living together. And in my particular experience, I can say that we never ever till now in any society have ever experienced like capitalism in its original form. This might have happened before 1913 in America, or in some countries where currency has been created more freely, and this has been like independent distribution facilities which could distribute currency free and without having a central bank in the back, and without legal restrictions and limitations. So because of that, we do have just something like a faked capitalism, which is manipulated by price reduction through the central banks. And what do I mean by that? So imagine you are so the best way to imagine that, in my opinion, is just to imagine that you are driving a car. So when you drive a car, you need your gasoline to be filled in your gasoline tank, and usually you will go to a gasoline station, and this gasoline station there is distributing this gasoline. And for the certain engines you need diesel, and for certain engines you need gasoline, but you always will need some kind of petrol for your car to drive. And actually on the market there are only a few big companies distributing this gasoline, like for example BP, Esso, Shell. Yeah, there are some small independent ones, but it is actually a beautiful comparison to what's happening in the currencies, in the currency distribution system, because you can take Shell for a country like for example Poland, or you can take BP for a country like Switzerland, and so the countries are distributing currency, and and the gasoline stations are distributing gasoline. What happens to your car? This is the question. When they fill in gasoline, which has a lower quality. So, for example, these octane numbers, which are written in the gasoline tanks, and explaining which quality of gasoline does your gasoline will have when you put it into your tank. And it needs to be high quality for your car to run. Otherwise, the car will stop to run. So, if you load the octane degree from 95% to, let's say, 70, the car might still be running, but it will be slower. You don't have the acceleration. This might cause, difficulties in terms of, the engine will be destroyed. Let's, for example, you exchange this petrol against like water or something different, which is less valuable and is destroying your engine more quickly. So this will cause the car to drive slower, and will break the car after a while. And if you lower the value of this gasoline to a certain degree, which is, let's say, lower than 50% or something, 50 octane, I don't know, it's just an example, the car will just stop running. It will not run. So this is actually how this is impacting your availability of driving from point A to point B. And it's exactly the same with currency. So actually what currently the central banks are doing, they are printing money out of thin air to bail out whole economies. And I'm not talking only about banks, but also about big companies. And so like to create prevention against recession, which is actually nothing else than economy resetting itself and setting itself to the real honest status it should be in, or it is in. But so it's like creating new money and distributing it into the system. Cheap money, which is created by lower interest rate, is nothing else like holding these companies alive, even if they wouldn't be usually able to survive under normal circumstances. So they have to raise capital, and with this raised chipped capital, they are able to survive more and move on. But what's happening to the money? This is like a little bit a comparison of lowering the octane degrees to your gasoline station. The money is becoming less and less. The money, I mean the currency. There is a difference between currency and money. So everyone who is sufficient and savvy with that knows that money needs to have intrinsic value, and currency does not have. It's a fiat currency, which means we are trusting that we will be able to buy services and goods also in the future with this money. And as long as this trust lasts, and as long the government uses the currency to enforce taxes, this is why we are using currency. Without this legal enforcement of currency being the only legal payment system available, and without enforcing taxes to be paid in currency, there is nothing else which is backing up this currency system. And to maintain wars, to operate operations, to make the economy look growing, central banks, with the help of governments, are distributing more and more and more currency. And this is a fact. You can Google this to get to know more about the monetary system. You just have to Google the fractional reserve banking. One of the mentors I have learned this from was Mike Maloney, and he has an awesome channel explaining the system of fiat currency on his channel, Hidden Secrets of Money, and I will add a link to his channel, because you really need to watch these videos. They are awesome animated videos which are explaining the system and how it's running and how it's like actually affecting our daily lives. But my point today is that we never ever, no one of us during our lifetime have ever experienced through capitalism and free economy. We are believing that we are living in a capitalist economy because, you know, they are companies, they are providing services, they are competing against each other, and this is all fine, but this is all like the 50% of the trade, because the other 50% of the trade is the price, and price is indexing the current situation of supply and demand. And when the price is manipulated because, you know, of distribution, money distribution by central banks, we are pushed into the belief that something is available which might be not available in this amount. So what we currently do have is a big wave of consuming products, consuming resources, and the cheap money provided by the central banks is providing monetary money availability for the companies, and so they are distributing all this. They are able to produce and to distribute their products, and this creates like the feeling of abundance of products and maybe of a never ending sustainability of this type of system. But this is just not true, you know. First of all, printing money and pushing it into the system is creating something like an inflation pressure. So sooner or later, the amount of money available will rise in inflation. Slowly, it doesn't express itself usually instantly, because usually you see the price rising in the stock market first. So you see the never-ending like bull market in the stock market, which is manipulated by money distribution. But after this has been passed through, and then the housing prices are growing, everything, it's finally also ending in the area of retail and you know, daily basis service distribution. And so please, really, 1-to-1, if you buy a cup from Poundland and it does cost you £1, the price of this cup is manipulated, because the distribution of money is manipulated and is central, and you really do not have a common free basis about this transaction. And this is like happening every time when you're buying something. Even if for a while the currency value may remain quite stable, doesn't change the fact that you would possibly have another price for this type of cup or whatever kind of service when you would have to buy it in a free society in which you know, the second part of this transaction, which means buying of this cup, would be money. You exchange money against the service and the good. Yeah, so the 50% of the trade is the good, which is the cap, and the other 50% is the money. And if the money wouldn't be like manipulated the way it is manipulated, you would have just other prices. You would have an honest indicator of demand and supply, which means it would give you like somehow like a clue about how many resources are still out there, and if this cup is really available also in a long-term perspective, for £1. Or is this possibly like something like a manipulated transaction? So, you know, there is a lot of information going on, for example, in terms of price manipulation for gold and silver on the COMEX. And you also can, when you follow Mike Maloney and other authors, you get there and you will find out what I mean by that. By selling paper ETFs, the companies on this COMEX market, the price of gold and silver is highly manipulated. But you don't have to go there. You have to go there. You don't have to go there. You can look at any single transaction. Any single transaction you're doing in your life, even if you're buying like carrots, it is in 50% the cases in regards to the price. I mean, in the currency price manipulated, because the currency supply is manipulated, and the price of money is manipulated by central banks by lowering or increasing the interest rates. So it can be honest. So when there are recessions and suddenly, like things are coming down and economy are slowing down, and we see something like a crisis in 2008, where Lehman Brothers get broke and then people have lost their jobs and everything. This is something which is quite predictable. This is not which is coming of thin air or which you cannot expect. It's went by humans, and it's made by design by the central bank systems, which are designed to collapse. So I don't want to give you like this historical overview when really after how many years usually fiat currencies do collapse. They do collapse all the time, which means also now the system with the US as a reserve bank will collapse, and also the pound will collapse, and so the euro is a shitty designed currency and it will collapse and soon. So which means you really need to take care of yourself and protect your wealth, and you know what to do in order to protect yourself against a crisis which will be bigger than the one in 2008. And if you don't do this, you will suffer a lot, because many people are saying this economical crisis will be like huge. And I agree with that. And so this is nothing about the advice. It's just to giving you an insight about what I think is happening on a daily basis. That that people who are criticizing capitalism, they just don't have a clue about it, how it's working. Not even me. I have a clue how a true capitalist system is working, and how it would feel like if we would be like because we possibly would get rid of these economic cycles like recessions and this huge bull rides of the market, and it just would be just much more stable in case we would like have free sources of currency supply, and all this would be created by the market and by the forces of supply and demand, also in regards to the currency which we are paying for the services for, and then we wouldn't have this type of economic problems which we did have 2008 and we will have in the future. And people are blaming in these crisis situations, for example, on the banks or the politics, or they are blaming the companies because they didn't save on everything like that. And that's fine. There is some truth in every of this argument, but we really need to understand that we never come to we are not allowed, even we are not eligible to judge a capitalist system, because we never lived in one. So if you want to really get to know how a capitalist system worked, you need to go back in the history before the year 1913, because this is where the central bank, the Federal Reserve in the US, has been established. And actually on this, how this was organized, the Federal Reserve banking, this has been distributed through the Bretton Woods system in 1944 across the globe. So this network, this spider web of banking systems, forcing governments, to enforce taxes in local currencies, giving this power to the central banks and to the governments, is something which needs to be observed and take into judgment when you are really judging about capitalism. So I think capitalism is a very good thing, because everyone is forced to take care of himself first, and then, you know, like to save the world with save the trees and, like, you know, social, so how do you call it, virtue signaling or something, you know. Really, it's like yeah, so it's to take careful efforts to take care of yourself, and yeah, so please understand that. Google this, what I mean about this. Imagine this example I've given about the cars. What is happening at the moment is that the currency quality is going down. The dollar lost its value since 1913 at about 97 or 98%, and it's going further down. It's dropping further. So it will happen with every single fiat currency which is backed by nothing, and these are all currencies in the world. So we will have a new system, banking and monetary system, and it's a little bit about you also, how you want to define this. And if you just, you know, what will possibly happen, but I hope it will not, that there will be a new central system established instead of the existing one, which, you know, might be the SDRs from the International Bank of Settlement or something like that. But, you know, there are cryptocurrencies now on the marketplace. There's still gold and silver. There are still like other possibilities, and it just by your choice, by your knowledge, by your expertise, you might consider to be able to change the outcome of this, what will help come next. You just by at least you can protect yourself. And I don't want to give any financial advice here. I just wanted to tell you, you know, really, before you judge capitalism, please be aware that every single service which is happening on the world, regardless if it's in China, in America, in Poland, in Germany, in the UK, or in other country, is not free, because 50% of the trade is manipulated, and the price is indicating demand, the real situation about demand and supply, but only if the price is not manipulated, and the price is manipulated in every single case of any trade. And with that said, thank you very much for watching. Have a good day, and speak soon. Goodbye. Damien from Wimbledon, making Wimbledon great again. Have a good day. Goodbye.